Heartwarming moment, single mom discovers an amazing billionaire who sees her child as hidden treasure in the quaint town of Willow Creek, Ohio. The soothing hum of community life surrounds Sarah as she sets up her son Ethan's art booth for the annual fair. But today was different. Today was not just another weekend, it was the day everything could change. The sun filtered beautifully through the trees, casting a golden glow over the colorful displays of art and laughter, yet there was a weight in Sarah's heart. A mix of hope and uncertainty clung to her like a second skin. As the crowd began to swell, her eyes fell on Ethan, his face glowing with pride as he arranged his paintings, bold strokes of color reflecting his vivid imagination. He was more than just a child, he was a fire in her heart, a promise of a better tomorrow. Sarah's mind raced with the struggles they faced as single mom, balancing back-to-back shifts at the diner while ensuring her son had everything he needed. She wouldn't trade it for the world, but the financial strain often left her breathless. Then came Jack. A figure among the bustling crowd, tall and mysterious, he approached with a curious expression. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. Was he really just an onlooker, or did he have an agenda lurking beneath his well-tailored suit? As he stopped by Ethan's booth, his gaze softened, and within that moment, he was transformed from a stranger into a compass seeking direction. Wow, you painted these? Jack knelt down, his voice warm. Ethan nodded vigorously, beaming with encouragement. They're incredible, Jack continued, his genuine tone surprising Sarah. Every laugh, every conversation between them sent conflicting ripples through Sarah. Could a billionaire really appreciate her son's talent for what it was, or was he merely eager to dabble in a charity act disguised as philanthropy? Just as doubt threatened to shatter her moment, Ethan's laugh broke through, pure and innocent. His unwavering confidence countered Sarah's unease. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jack's fascination with the painting deepened, and Sarah's heart raced with worry. A sudden wave of financial uncertainty hit her when she received news of layoffs at the diner. The weight of responsibility pressed on her chest. It was a lucrative offer she had been approached with, a chance to escape this small town and grasp a future that had always seemed just out of reach. But at what cost? Leaving behind Ethan, her pulse quickened as that thought lingered in the air. However, then their worlds collided in an unexpected moment when Ethan unveiled a piece that struck Jack to his core, a vivid painting reflecting loss and nostalgia. Jack's eyes glistened, recognition dawning, and just like that, their guarded barriers crumbled. Their dialogue unveiled deep-seated vulnerabilities and unhealed wounds. The air around them crackled with emotion. Sarah felt the soft tug of connection forming, but just as quickly, the sharp reminder of the realities that divided them pierced through the acceptance. Would they allow their circumstances to weave their paths together or forever leave them at odds? The conversation hung heavy as her phone buzzed insistently in her pocket, dragging her mind away from the blossoming connection. It could change everything, sending Sarah into a decision that may alter the futures of both her and Ethan. How could she reconcile love and ambition when the roots of her heart were buried so deep? And as the vibrancy of the fair swirled around her, she stood on the precipice of uncertainty, the weight of her choices looming like clouds ready to storm. Sarah's heart raced as she fished her phone from her pocket. The notification was from the diner, the message hinting at possible layoffs. It was a gut punch, her fears spilling into reality. What if she lost her job? How would they make ends meet? Mom! Ethan called, breaking her reverie. He gestured to another patron admiring his artwork. The way Ethan spoke to Jack had transformed into something beautiful. He was bubbling with excitement. Can you believe it? He likes my paintings. Sarah forced a smile, the warmth of Ethan's happiness momentarily grounding her. But as she looked back at Jack, she didn't miss the shimmer of intrigue in his eyes, a light that said he recognized something special in her son. It scared her that Jack's apparent admiration for Ethan could be tied to a savior complex. Did he want to be the hero in their small-town saga? "Do you need a moment?" Jack asked, his empathetic expression piercing through her turmoil. I'm fine," Sarah managed, though her voice shook. She couldn't allow more doubts to creep in, not now. Jack's presence was magnetic. As he interacted with Ethan, Sarah felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. Could he help them? Or was he yet another distraction, yet another person threatening to pull her away from her carefully laid out plans of survival? "Ethan, why don't you show Jack your favorite piece?" Sarah suggested, her voice a bit too shaky. With no hesitation, Ethan rushed to retrieve a bold canvas splashed with vibrant blues and oranges, an abstract representation of their shared dreams. Sarah looked at the painting through Ethan's eyes, filled with possibility. For a moment, the worries that consumed Sarah faded into the background as she watched Jack genuinely engage with her son's creation. He stepped closer, studying every color, every detail, his admiration palpable. "This is something else," Jack said, his voice low and sincere. "You have a gift, buddy." Ethan lit up, his pride radiating like sunshine, while Sarah felt the weight from earlier ease just a fraction. She mentally pinched herself, reminding her heart that moments like this weren't guarantees of safety or success. Still, it felt good to see someone appreciate Ethan in such a genuine way. Yet, the reality of their situation loomed large. Jack was a billionaire, living a life of comfort, while she was struggling day to day. It was easy to feel overwhelmed, a familiar feeling tightening around her chest. If only the universe could throw her a lifeline. "Are you sure you don't want to consider selling one?" Jack's voice broke through her thoughts, and Sarah chastised herself for drifting. The suggestion hovered between them, heavy with potential. But selling Ethan's work meant she would have to dive deeper into a world that scared her, a world full of expectations and judgments. Her protective instincts kicked in harder. "He's still learning," she said gently, hoping to shield Ethan from too much pressure. Jack's expression softened, and he kindly nodded. "I get that. No rush. Just putting it out there." But the flicker in his eyes told a different story, a thread of determination. Sarah felt a knot twist in her stomach. Ethan interrupted her thoughts with a joyful squeal, chattering away, but Sarah couldn't shake the weight of Jack's presence. He was kind and attentive, but what if he wanted more than just to admire? Did he want a connection, something deeper, something her heart was already hesitant to acknowledge? As Jack leaned closer to Ethan, pointing at each stroke and majestic splash, Sarah felt her world shift. Would she allow herself to take a chance on someone who effortlessly made her son feel seen? The thought of leaving the confines of her fears felt foreign yet thrilling. Yet, just as this glimmer of hope washed over her, a loud announcement echoed through the fairground's attention, "Everyone! Don't forget the drawing for the community grant coming up in 1 hour." Sarah's heart plummeted. It was an opportunity designed for artists like Ethan, but would she be brave enough to step forward, to embrace a future where fear didn't rule her decisions? As she looked to Jack, the uncertainty in her heart weighed even more heavily. Choices were forming like a storm, leaving her on the edge of a decision that could change everything. What if stepping out of the shadows meant losing control? The air between them crackled with questions that had yet to be voiced, but with every passing second, it was a choice begging to be made. Ethan's excitement was palpable as he wound down from his conversation with Jack. "Mom, can you believe he really liked my painting?" His face lit up with joy, but Sarah's heart sank as the moment collided with the relentless reality of her own fears. "Yeah, it's incredible," she said, trying to match his enthusiasm, but the tremble in her voice betrayed her true feelings. She forced herself to focus on Jack, who was still admiring Ethan's artwork. It was a delicate balance, her son's budding confidence against her own insecurities. Jack turned toward Sarah, his eyes warm. "I see potential in Ethan," he said earnestly. "He tells a story with every stroke. It's rare." "Stories," Sarah echoed quietly. She hardly felt she had any left to tell. Her life had become a series of urgent decisions, each more survival-oriented than the last. "Mom. Are you okay?" Ethan's voice broke through, filled with concern. She felt her heart twist. She wanted to be the strong force in his life, the unwavering support. But to do that, she'd have to navigate the storm inside her. "What if we entered the drawing, Mom?" Ethan's eyes sparkled with hope. "If I win, we could." "Ethan, let us not get ahead of ourselves," she interrupted, knowing she needed to protect him from potential disappointment. The pit in her stomach gnawed at her, a reminder that dreams could crumble just like that. And yet Jack's earlier words echoed in her mind. "Why not invite him to join us in the booth?" Jack spoke up, his voice friendly, yet pressing, inviting Sarah to rethink her hesitations. "It could be a great opportunity for both of you." Sarah's mind raced. "I don't know," she stammered. "What if it's too much, Ethan? What if—" "Come on, Mom," Ethan pleaded. "You always tell me to take chances. This could be our chance to show everyone what I can do." She looked between Ethan and Jack, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Trusting Jack felt risky, but he was right about Ethan's talent. She could see it shining through. Stepping forward now could be the turning point they needed. Maybe we can give it a shot," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. A dense knot tightened in her throat, fear blending with the slightest hint of hope. "Yay!" Ethan cheered, jumping in place. For a brief moment, Sarah allowed herself to revel in the light of his joy, the pure and unfiltered happiness radiating from her son. But the impending grant drawing loomed over them like a dark cloud, amplifying her disquiet. Jack smiled at them both, his expression encouraging. "You have to believe in yourselves. Real potential isn't about staying safe, it's about putting your work out there and seeing what happens." "But what if we fail?" Sarah's voice was almost a whisper, the raw vulnerability of the question hanging thick in the air. "What if you soar?" Jack countered gently, his eyes focused intently on her. It felt like he was laying bare not only Ethan's possibilities but her own as well. Sarah felt herself grappling with a calumet of responsibility, the murky waters of what-ifs swirling around her mind. "Are you willing to try?" he added. "Mom." Ethan tugged on her sleeve. "You always say we have to take risks to reach our dreams." Her breath hitched. It's different when it's my dream." "Not if it's mine, too," Ethan said tightly, eyes glistening with belief. The crowd buzzed around them, but in that moment, it was just the three of them in a bubble of possibility. Sarah felt a flicker of something in her chest, not just fear, but also a sliver of hope. A chance to believe, even momentarily, that their lives could be defined by more than survival. As Jack leaned closer, the connection formed felt electric but terrifying. Could she really risk their fragile stability for the dream of a better future? Just then, an announcement rang through the fairgrounds again, shaking her moment of clarity. "The drawing for the community grant will begin in 10 minutes. Artists, prepare your submissions." Sarah's heart raced again, this time mixed with anxiety and anticipation. She glanced back at Jack, uncertainty etched on her face, but underlying that was the stirring of hope. Was she ready to step into the spotlight? As the moment drew closer, she felt like she was standing on the edge of a precipice, her heart pounding with an intensity that shifted between fear and the wild thrill of possibility. What awaited her on the other side of this decision? In that instant, she realized this could change everything. Ethan stood by her side, bouncing on the balls of his feet, eyes wide with excitement. The buzzing surroundings of the fairgrounds faded to a murmur as Sarah took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlwind in her chest. Was it possible they could actually do this? "Mom, is it time?" Ethan asked, his impatience bubbling over. She steeled herself. Okay, let us get your drawing, she said, her voice trembling slightly. The sheer weight of the moment bore down on her, but she didn't want to discourage Ethan. He was so full of dreams, so ready to leap into the world. As they approached the booth to submit Ethan's painting, Sarah looked at the colorful banners whipping in the wind, the laughter of children playing, and the myriad of food stalls smelling of funnel cakes and caramel corn. These sights would typically evoke joy, but right now, they felt like distractions from the gravity of what they were about to do. With a heavy heart, she kneeled down to meet Ethan's gaze. Listen, no matter what happens, I want you to know how proud I am of you. You create magic with your art. Always remember that. Ethan's face lit up, his uncertainty fading under the warmth of her words. Thanks, Mom. But I think we're going to win. Yes, we might, she echoed, though a whisper of doubt lingered. With a shaky hand, she took the drawing from Ethan and made her way to the registration desk, her palms slick with anxiety. As they approached the table, Sarah felt Jack's presence behind them. You both are going to knock them out of the park, he said encouragingly. She wished she could share in his optimism. It felt easier to believe in Ethan's future than her own. With every signature she wrote and form she filled out, Sarah could feel the crowd around them swell with anticipation. A group of artists stood a few feet away, chatting animatedly about their submissions. They looked confident and accomplished, a stark contrast to the little bubble of insecurities she inhabited. Mom! Ethan exclaimed, tugging at her sleeve. He pointed to another booth, where a larger child proudly displayed a mixed media piece. Look at that guy. He must be older. Sometimes it feels unfair, like we're not good enough because we're just starting out. Sarah felt a pang in her heart. Sweetheart, everyone starts somewhere. The only thing that matters is putting your passion into your art. Success comes in different forms. Yeah, like that one time when I showed my painting to Nina. Ethan chuckled. She said it was as good as chocolate rain. Sarah smiled. An unexpected warmth flooded her chest, lightening her fears momentarily. See? Jack added. Each piece of art is an expression of who you are, and no one can take that away from you. Something about Jack's certainty began to chip away at her anxiety. Maybe she could harness this moment, not just for Ethan, but for herself too. Echoes of her dreams surfaced, long buried under routine and survival. As the seconds ticked by, anticipation hung heavy in the air. The announcer's voice boomed through the fairgrounds, we're moments away from the start of the drawing. Final submissions please. Sarah's pulse quickened. She looked at Ethan, who was bouncing on his toes, excitement radiating from him. Suddenly the anxiety morphed into a resolve. Okay, Ethan, she whispered, let us do this together. She took his hand, feeling a surge of solidarity. The weight of fear lightened. What if this was the beginning of something beautiful? Just then, they were called up to the table. As they placed Ethan's submission down, a small gasp escaped Sarah's lips when she noticed another artist leaning in, eyeing their work with interest. It was a renowned local artist, someone who had the ability to influence the very grant they were aspiring to win. Her heart raced as they exchanged glances. Would he see the spark in Ethan's creation? The thought of recognition sent a ripple of excitement through her. As Ethan beamed, lost in his own world, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that their lives might begin to change in that moment, their first step into a different future. But what if, beneath that shimmer of possibility, the reality was far more complex? What lay ahead once they stepped beyond these unfamiliar doors? She was about to find out. Ethan stood beside her, eyes sparkling with enthusiasm, completely unaware of the shuffle of unease lining Sarah's gut. The artist's attention was solidly locked on Ethan's painting. She could feel the weight of his gaze, curious and intent, as he studied the colors, the strokes, the little details Ethan had poured his heart into. Is this your work? The artist asked, kneeling down to meet Ethan's height, his tone warm and inviting. Ethan, practically vibrating with joy, nodded vigorously. Yep. I painted it all by myself. It's about the sky and how it looks at night, with candy stars. Sarah's chest swelled with pride, watching Ethan articulate his thoughts with pure innocence and enthusiasm. She sensed a shift. This was no longer just a submission. It was an exchange, a moment where his work was seen and appreciated for the magic it held. The artist turned to Sarah, a knowing smile gracing his lips. You must be proud of him. Very, she managed, holding back tears that were threatening to spill over. He puts so much of himself in his art. It's just, we've had some rough times, and this meant everything to him. The artist absorbed her words, nodding gently. Art has a way of revealing our struggles, doesn't it? You might be surprised at how powerful this piece can be. For a heartbeat, the world around them dimmed, the chatter, the laughter, and the squeals faded. Just for a moment, all that existed was the flicker of possibility blossoming in Sarah's heart. Then, with a loud clap, the announcer's voice returned, breaking the spell. The time has come. Thank you all for your submissions. Now let us get ready for some inspiration. The artist stood, giving Ethan one last encouraging nod, then shifted to rejoin the throng. Sarah clenched Ethan's hand, feeling a pulse of determination flow through her. Maybe today would be a turning point, not just for Ethan, but for her as well. Can we go see some rides now? Ethan chirped, peering up at her with sparkling eyes. Of course. She smiled, her nerves seemingly smoothed over by the encounter. They wandered through the colorful market of booths, from candy apples to cartoon characters painted on faces. They laughed and cheered as they rode the Ferris wheel, where they could see the whole fair sprawling beneath them, alive with movement and joy. As they disembarked, Sarah noticed Jack at the edge of the crowd. He waved vigorously, calling out, "You two look fantastic. How did it go?" Ethan jumped excitedly, recounting their encounter with the artist, his words tumbling over each other. He thought my painting was special, Mom. Can you believe it? Jack's eyes widened, genuine delight spreading across his face. I knew it would resonate. You've got talent, buddy. And, Sarah, I think this is just the beginning. The warmth of his encouragement settled like a comforting blanket. The quiet strength he offered reminded her that they could embrace whatever came next together. But as the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and purple, a nagging worry crept back. Was it possible to maintain this connection? How would they navigate the uncertainties looming ahead? The night grew darker, and the fairground lights flickered on, casting vibrant colors across their faces. Sarah felt a charge in the air, an electrifying energy that whispered of change. Just as she turned to say something to Ethan, she noticed Jack's gaze fixate on a nearby booth. What's wrong? She asked, instinctively following his line of sight. Jack's expression turned serious, revealing a flicker of concern. There's something happening there, something big. Before she could inquire further, a loud commotion drew their attention, pulling them towards the center of the fair. Voices rose in excitement, but also in anxiety. What's this about? Sarah murmured, tightening her grip on Ethan's hand. Together, they pressed forward into the crowd, their hearts pounding in anticipation of an incredible revelation just ahead. What was unfolding in front of them that would change everything? The crowd surged around them, a chaotic mix of laughter and shouts. Sarah felt the energy thrumming in her chest, her instincts on high alert. She could barely hear her own thoughts over the din. Ethan was on his tiptoes, trying to peer over the shoulders of strangers, his small hand still tightly gripped in hers. What's happening? Ethan asked, his voice a mix of excitement and confusion. I don't know, sweetheart, Sarah replied, her eyes scanning the cluster of people encircling a brightly lit booth adorned with balloons and shimmering streamers. She noticed a tall figure standing at the center, gesturing animatedly. Something about the way he held himself commanded attention. He was oddly familiar. As they drew closer, the man's voice cut through the noise. We've had an incredible turn of events. Thanks to our generous benefactor, we're about to offer a scholarship for a young artist. His words sparked immediate murmurs of wonder and disbelief. Ethan tugged at her hand. A scholarship? Like for art? Yes, honey, but Sarah started to explain, but her voice trailed off as she finally recognized the man. It was Theo Evans, a well-known philanthropist and art collector who often participated in charity events. His presence was magnetic, and the way he spoke radiated warmth. Means that any young artist interested in pursuing their passion can apply, Theo said, his voice rising with enthusiasm. All you need to do is share your story and, if selected, you'll receive mentorship and funding to help you shine. Ethan's eyes lit up like stars, a sparkle that mirrored the candy stars in his painting. Mom! I want to do it! He exclaimed, jumping on the tips of his shoes. Sarah hesitated, caught between her instinct to shield Ethan from disappointment and the sheer joy illuminating his face. Are you sure? She asked cautiously. It's a big step. Theo, noticing the exchange, turned his attention to them, his expression softening. And what are we waiting for? Young artists deserve to be heard. It's important for dreams to bloom. His words felt like a gentle nudge, encouraging them to step forward. Before she could think further, Sarah watched as Ethan moved closer, his excitement bubbling over. He glanced back at her, eyes wide with hope. It was infectious, and she felt a swell of pride mix with a flicker of fear. Would this be another chance for him to be let down? It could change everything for him, Jack murmured beside her, nudging her to believe in it too. Pulled by Ethan's determination, Sarah took a deep breath and stepped forward with him. Let us hear about it, she said, her voice steady now, the weight of possibilities resting just before them. Ethan plopped down on a nearby stool, bouncing slightly as he filled out the application form Theo presented. He wrote about his dreams, his art, and even how much this painting meant to him. With each word, Sarah felt the layers of doubt peeling away, replaced by a burgeoning sense of hope. As they waited for their turn, she glanced at Jack, who watched Ethan with a proud smile. Her heart softened, the pain of the past mingling with the thrill of possibilities now blooming in front of them. Do you think it will work out? She whispered, a flicker of vulnerability escaping her protective shell. Jack nodded, his gaze steady. I believe it can. He deserves this. Just then, the announcer's voice boomed again, catching everyone's attention. We're about to hear the stories of our young artists. One by one, let us inspire each other. The crowd hushed slightly, anticipation hanging in the air like the scent of cotton candy. All eyes were on Theo as he began to invite the first participant to the front. Sarah felt her own heart quicken. This was it. But just as Ethan stood to take his turn, a sudden shout erupted from the back, echoing through the fairground. Wait! I have to say something. Ethan froze, his excitement turning into confusion, sparking a new wave of anxiety in Sarah's chest. Who was that, and what were they going to say that could change everything again? The moment felt heavy. Electricity tingling at the back of her neck. Before she could process it, the crowd shifted, and all eyes turned to the new voice as uncertainty loomed in the air. What revelation awaited them now? The crowd parted slightly, revealing a girl around Ethan's age, her blonde hair tied back in a messy ponytail. She marched to the front with determination in her blue eyes, chestnut paint smeared across her cheek, evidence of her own artistic passion. Suddenly, the air crackled with tension, the earlier excitement shifting to something deeper, more uncertain. Please! The girl shouted, her voice rising above the murmurs. I just need everyone to listen. Sarah instinctively tightened her grip on Ethan's hand, her heart racing. Even if the girl appeared confident, there was a hint of desperation in her delivery. The crowd had gone silent, leaning in, eager to understand. What is your name? Theo asked gently, his eyes encouraging yet concerned. Leah, she replied, taking a quick breath. I know everyone's excited about the scholarship, but I think it's important we talk about why it matters, what it can really mean. We're not just applying for money or fame. We're sharing pieces of ourselves. Ethan's face lit up, his earlier confusion forgotten. He looked up at Sarah, curiosity shining in his eyes. This girl was brave, and in that moment, she felt hope blossom within her. Leah continued, her passion filling the air. Art is about connection. It's about who we are and what we want to say to the world. My dad just lost his job, and I don't know what will happen to us. But this scholarship could give someone like me a chance to express that struggle, to turn pain into something beautiful. The weight of Leah's words hit Sarah like a wave. She could feel the emotion ripple through the crowd as Leah opened up. It was raw, real. Sarah found herself thinking of her own struggles, the days when she felt like her own dreams were slipping away. Please, Leah begged, voice shaking, we need to make sure that this isn't just a contest. We have stories to share. Each one of us. Let's lift each other up. Ethan's expression blended admiration and empathy as he listened. His small fingers still gripped his application form tightly, but now it felt more than just a form. It felt like hope. We can change lives with our stories, Leah said, looking around the crowd. We can inspire someone who needs it. Like me. There was a pause, then a soft applause began to ripple through the audience. Mixed in was a chorus of murmurs, encouraging and supportive. Theo nodded, clearly impressed. You're absolutely right, Leah. This isn't just about the scholarship, it's about building a community. It's about each of your unique voices. Thank you for reminding us. Sarah turned to Ethan, her heart swelling. What do you think, honey? She asked softly, realizing the weight of Leah's message had struck a chord within them both. I want to share my story too, Mom, Ethan said firmly, his small voice filled with newfound resolve. Just then, the announcer gestured for Leah to take her seat among the participants, and the atmosphere shifted, the air charged with encouragement and energy. As Ethan stood up again, nerves fluttering in his stomach, he glanced back at Sarah. She smiled, all her fears quieting, overwhelmed by warmth and pride. When it was Ethan's turn to take the stage, he stepped forward, his small frame standing tall against the broader world. He lifted his chin, holding his painted stars close to his heart. But just as he opened his mouth to begin, the crowd stood still, and the shadows of vulnerability flickered beneath the bright lights. Sarah felt the tension as her breath caught. What would he say? Would he find the courage to be true to himself? Then, a voice broke through the crowd again. Hold on. I really need to tell you something important too. Her heart sank. Who else was going to step up now? What more could there possibly be to say? In that moment, Sarah felt the fragile thread of hope dangling precariously. Could they all pull together to turn this into something incredible? The stakes felt higher than ever, and the warmth of the moment flickered with uncertainty. Would Ethan still be able to find his voice amid such chaos? Ethan's heart pounded in his chest, uncertainty clawing at his throat as he listened to the newcomer. The voice cut through the energy of the room like a knife, and he turned to see a tall boy with dark hair and striking features step forward. His eyebrows were furrowed with worry, and he looked out at the crowd as if searching for someone. Hey! I've got something to say too. He repeated, his tone urgent as he pushed past the other participants to claim the center stage. Everyone fell silent again, the attention now focused on him. Anxiety blended with curiosity as Sarah exchanged glances with Ethan. Who was this boy? What could he possibly contribute to the weight of Leah's heartfelt plea? With a shaky breath, the boy continued, I'm Ben. And what Leah said really moved me. But there's more. I think a lot of us have stories like that. His hands fidgeted nervously. I know I do. My family. He swallowed hard, adrenaline rushing through him. We've struggled since my mom got sick. It's felt like everything has been falling apart. We lost our house, and my dad works multiple jobs just to keep food on the table. But this scholarship could change everything. Ben's voice shook slightly as he spoke. The raw emotion in his eyes captured everyone. Art matters. We can share our stories. I want people to see that struggle doesn't define us. Instead, it fuels our creativity, our passion. As he spoke, tears pricked at Sarah's eyes. She could see the threads of pain and heartbreak woven tightly into Ben's words. It was a mirror reflecting the struggles she too felt at times. But oddly, hearing all these young voices share their pain felt like a raw embrace. Ethan looked at Ben with admiration. Yeah. We have to show everyone our true selves, he chimed in, a rush of confidence washing over him. The atmosphere shifted again, now charged with camaraderie and shared vulnerability. Leah gave Ethan an encouraging nod, and in that moment, the two boys began to connect through their shared hope and fears. Ethan. Sarah called softly, realization dawning on her. Are you ready? Ethan met her gaze and felt the weight lift slightly. Silently, he nodded, emboldened by the words of Leah and Ben. He was not alone. As Ben stepped back, enthusiastically accepted by the crowd with applause, Ethan took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready to claim his own space. The audience shifted in anticipation, some standing, all eyes glued to him with respect and encouragement. I've never spoken in front of this many people before. Ethan's voice faltered, but he pressed on, but now I understand why this matters. I want to share about how I felt when my dad was sick, and sometimes I thought I couldn't paint anymore, but I realized my stars, he pointed to his artwork, show our dreams, even when it's dark. With every word, he felt the crowd lean in closer, drawn to the truth in his voice. The fear faded as he spoke of his struggles, the hope clawing its way into the cracks of his heart. Suddenly, the crowd erupted in supportive cheers. Each clap and shout helped him find his rhythm, and Sarah's heart swelled. And then, the unexpected happened. A figure emerged from the back, breaking through the crowd, a woman dressed impeccably, her presence magnetic. She held a notepad in her hand, her eyes piercing and supportive. Could I ask you to share just a little more? You all have stories worth telling, she said, her voice calm yet filled with urgency. Sarah's heart raced again. Who was this woman? What did she want? The atmosphere shifted once more, thick with possibilities. Ethan paused, glancing at Sarah, confusion mixing with hope. What lay beyond this turning point? Would their stories resonate even further than they imagined? The room seemed to hold its breath. Ethan took a tentative step closer to the edge of the stage, the spotlight suddenly feeling brighter, hotter. Everyone was watching, their eyes wide with curiosity and anticipation. The woman's presence was commanding, and he could sense an electrifying connection being forged in that moment. What does she mean by stories worth telling? He thought, anxiety curling in his belly. 1,000 thoughts raced through his mind. Did she want them to share more? Was she someone who could help them? Okay, Ethan said, his voice catching for a moment. I guess I can talk a bit more. He ran a hand through his hair, glancing at Sarah for support. She smiled encouragingly, her eyes sparkling with pride. He felt bolstered by her warmth. Art was always my escape, he began again, this time with more conviction. When everything felt like it was crumbling around me, I painted to cope. I painted the stars, the dreams I held onto when life seemed too dark, when I thought I'd lose everything like my dad. The audience was mesmerized. He could see tears in some eyes, and others nodded, completely entranced by his story. The thing is, he continued, his heart thundering, I realized my art didn't just help me. It helped others too. I heard from classmates who said my paintings made them feel understood. They felt they could face their own battles. Ben, standing off to the side, beamed at him. It was that shared understanding, that bond of resilience, Ethan had hoped to ignite. We're all fighting our battles, he added, looking around at the faces. But together, we can lift one another up." The applause that followed felt like a warm embrace. But as Ethan settled back into the moment, he couldn't shake the feeling of the woman's gaze. She was still watching him, her expression softening as his words washed over the crowd. "Wow, Ethan," Ben said, stepping forward again. "You really nailed it. See? We're stronger together." With an encouraging smile, Leah echoed, "Yes. Our stories are interconnected. We all need each other." The audience erupted again, applauding their collective courage. But the woman still lingered, taking notes with keen focus, as though Ethan's words were being etched in her mind for something profound. "I have a story too," she finally interjected, her voice steady, as she climbed the stairs toward them. "I am Miss Adams, the program director for the arts initiative here in our town. What you've just shared. It's exactly what we're looking for. We want to amplify your voices, to make sure your stories are heard far and wide." Ethan felt a rush of excitement mixed with overwhelming fear. Amplify their voices? What did that mean for them? People began murmuring, excitement sparking through the crowd. "Do you mean like a gallery? Showcase our art?" He stammered, suddenly breathless. "Yes." Miss Adams affirmed, her smile wide. "If you're willing to work together, your stories could inspire many more. We want to create an exhibition that showcases not just your art but the stories behind it, stories of struggle, triumph, and hope." Ethan's head spun at the implications. A chance to share their passions. To create something beautiful out of their pain. He looked at Ben and Leah, who were now as wide-eyed as he was. They were explorers at the edge of an uncharted world, standing on the brink of what could be a great adventure. But questions circled in Ethan's mind. Could they do this? "Will you all be part of it?" she asked, her gaze shifting among them, igniting a spark of possibility. Ethan's heart raced again. Would they take the plunge? Together? Ben echoed, his voice trembling with hope. Miss Adams nodded, a silent agreement forming in the air. "Okay," Ethan spoke, unable to hide the thrill in his tone. "Let us do it." But as the whispers of plans began to fill the air, a new doubt crept in. How far could they go? What sacrifices would they have to make? Would their stories truly resonate with others, and would the path ahead be as bright as the stars they painted? As they ventured further into the unknown, the risks loomed larger. Were they truly ready to share their innermost struggles with the world and risk exposing their vulnerabilities? Ethan stood there, heart racing amongst the buzzing crowd. He glanced at Ben and Leah, hope igniting between them like a spark, prompting a fire. Miss Adams' invitation hung in the air, practically shimmering with opportunity, beckoning them toward an uncertain but exhilarating future. Together, Ethan whispered, more to himself than anyone else. The weight of that single word filled him with both exhilaration and trepidation. They would stand shoulder to shoulder, their voices harmonizing to create something far greater than they could alone. Can we really do this? Leah's voice broke in, brimming with equal parts excitement and doubt. But Ethan felt the warmth of their shared moment. Yes, we can. He declared, feeling the embers of confidence flaring up. The more they shared, the more real the possibilities became. Art is powerful, Ben added, his voice steady. We can show the world that our stories matter. Ethan nodded, understanding the truth in that statement with every fiber of his being. They weren't just sharing art. They were inviting others into their lived experiences, their struggles, and their triumphs. Miss Adams smiled knowingly, her eyes sparkling like the stars in Ethan's paintings. This will take commitment. You'll need to dig deep and find the courage to show your heart. But I promise, if you do, your voices will resonate. A wave of determination washed over Ethan. This was it. No more hiding. No more fear. Just the raw beauty of honesty on display. He could picture it now, an exhibition teeming with vibrant colors, each story encapsulated in art, cruel but fair, beautiful despite its scars. I'm in, Ethan said firmly, raising his hand. Ben and Leah quickly followed suit. Together. They chorused, laughter mixing with the sound of applause from the crowd. Wonderful. We can start collaborating with artists and mentors, sharing our experiences and combining your techniques, Miss Adams said, her enthusiasm infectious. This can be a place where vulnerability transforms into power. Ethan beamed, feeling a lightness that had long eluded him. He thought of his mom, Sarah, and what this meant for their little family. The past few weeks had been turbulent, the weight of uncertainty heavy. But now, an open road lay ahead, shimmering like the sunset. Sarah watched, heart bursting with pride. She had seen this moment evolve for weeks, a gradual awakening of her son's confidence, as if he were slowly emerging from a shell. With each stroke on canvas, each joyful exclamation, he had transcended from just a boy painting in the corner to a young artist ready to conquer the world. Ethan. She called softly, moving through the crowd toward him. I'm so proud of you. Do you know how brave you are? Mom. Ethan exclaimed, running to her with uncontainable energy. We're going to tell our stories. Our stories. Excitement exploded in his voice, and Sarah felt her breath hitch in her throat. Yes, sweetheart, I saw. You were amazing, she said, kneeling to meet his gaze. Tears of joy brimmed in her eyes as Ethan embraced her tightly. They finally stood as equals, a partnership, side by side on this journey. Jack stepped up behind them, beaming with pride. You both are going to shine. I've seen it since day one. This is just the start. His voice was both soft and full of ambition. Thanks for believing in us, Sarah said, heart brimming with gratitude. Here was a man, a billionaire, choosing to invest time in their dreams, their joys. Yes. Jack said, clapping excitedly. You want to go big with this. You'll touch hearts, inspire others. And I'll be right there supporting you, every step of the way. I'm so excited. Ethan shouted, spinning around with pure joy. We're going to fill the world with our colors. And suddenly, it dawned on Sarah, they wouldn't just be surviving day to day. They would strive for something greater. Somewhere amidst the voices of fear and doubt, hope had forged a path. As laughter and applause swirled around them, Sarah felt a shift in her own heart. Perhaps it was time to break out of her own shell. She had dreams. Too buried deep within an art of her own, waiting, just waiting. Let us make a pact, she said, looking at Ethan, Jack, and the newfound crew of artists radiating with the vibrant glow of inspiration. Let us not just redefine our paths, let us grab onto our dreams and never let go. With a unified cry, they expressed their commitment. Together. Echoing from hearts alive with anticipation. The sun began to dip below the horizon, twilight approaching but bursting with color. The fairground swelled with life, their world transforming into a canvas of possibilities illuminated by an unyielding glow. And for the first time, Sarah dared to believe both for herself and Ethan that they could create the life they dreamed. This is the moment where hope unfolded like the petals of a flower, ready for the world to come and watch as they bloomed. Before you finish reading, make sure you take action and support us. You need to subscribe now to catch the next exclusive stories that will touch your heart. Leave a like to feed the algorithm, every click makes a difference. We want to hear from you. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this amazing ending. Don't wait not even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Your support means everything.